Semen retention has many different approaches. As we can see online, the movement is growing. More men are seeing the benefits of it. We've got Nofap. We've got the celibacy route. We've got the alchemy route. We've got the don't take a route at all. Just go at it. Jerk, jerk, jerk. Watch porn or do everything and everything you want to do. So there's many different approaches to taking to this lifestyle. In this particular episode, we're going to share with you 5 different approaches that you can take depending on your path. How to decide what approach makes sense for you and what doesn't make sense for you. And ultimately, by the end of our discussion, you'll be able to clearly make a decision. This is the path for me. This is what makes sense for me. And this is how I'm going to move forward. So you're set up for success. Really look for today's call. Let's do our song and get into our show.
Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control, their info is plain. If you don't know, feel that energy flow right into your brain. Your whole game will change. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control, their info is plain. If you don't know, feel that energy flow right into your brain. Your whole game will change. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain.
Yes, Semen Retention Soldiers. Welcome to Semen Retention Nation Live. This is a weekly live show that we do for you to equip you, to train you, to get educated on the power of semen retention, how it works, to dismantle some of the myths around it too. My gosh, there's a lot of bullshit out there. I've been studying this practice now for close to 5 years. I've been in the personal development and training world for close to 10 years. And I'll tell you, nothing has transformed my own life and all the men that I work with more than the power of retention. However, there's a lot of bullshit out there, and there's a lot of things that men aren't doing, which has them continuously fail and relapse. And we want to be able to address all of those in these shows. So make it a weekly habit to tune in. We go live every single 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you hit the subscribe, you hit the bell button so you get notified. Also, leave questions, leave comments below. That way we can directly answer your questions. This is an education opportunity. We're trainers. So for you to get the most from any type of education, whether it's traditional school or a personal development program, a leadership course like the one that we teach men and take men through, you as the student, it's on you to get the most from it by engaging, participating, asking questions. It's how you also retain, pun intended, the most information. All right, so what's up, everybody? Thank you so much, Krishna Das, for being here. Hare Krishna, appreciate it. We got Krishna, a lot of Krishna here. Krishna Das, Krishna Beladeo, Krishna everywhere and anywhere. Hey, thanks for the help, y'all. Well, thank you so much, brother. Captain Jake, well, I say Captain Jake, excuse me. I don't mean to disrespect your position and title. General Jake.
Yeah,
what's going
I've been
on, man? You
promoted
report this week. Why don't you give us
rank.
Insights of what's happening?
Yeah, firstly, I just want to say that it's a really good topic because, so many people, they don't really know what it's about. They hear the phrase semen retention and they're like, what is that about? No sex? Is it all about sex? You know, it's confusing, but it's a lot of subtleties to it. So it's really good to have this video to explain further because, so many times people don't really understand what it's about, but it's a very healthy and helpful, complex thing. This week in the army, in the semen retention army, the challenge this week is pelvic floor workouts. So sometimes we use a tennis ball to do it. You can sit on a tennis ball and work out your pelvic floor, or even without, you do Kegels. Probably people have heard of Kegels before. You're just basically strengthening the pelvic floor and the perineum, PC muscles, just like any other muscles really, because it's important to have a strong core, because the goal is with semen retention and just in terms of holding your energy, to have a very strong, everywhere really, strong frame, but especially with the pelvic floor, strong and relaxed, so you can hold a lot of energy there. So this is just one of the practices we do, these pelvic floor workouts, and it really strengthens those muscles, helps your organs and everything. It's just for general health. It's very good. That's what we're doing. Yeah, we're focusing on as our challenge this week, but it's just one of the many practices we do. Yeah.
Yeah, this
And
challenge for week 5 inside of the alchemy core, where you can, again, you're not just working on strength of the pelvic floor, which helps you stop ejaculation. It helps you practice non-ejaculatory sex. It helps you also have non-ejaculatory orgasms and overall health and vitality. Think about the floor. It's the floor of your body and all your organs are sitting there. If you've got a strong pelvic floor, you're holding all the organs in place. But what happens is we get older, especially with today's current lifestyle, sitting on chairs, driving computers. Many of us actually have weak pelvic floors. This is why a lot of guys also experience sometimes erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation. They're just not very strong actually as a muscle down there. And not only that, over time, gravity really starts to pull everything down. And without a strong, good floor muscle, everything starts to get a little back out of sync, which creates gut problems. Gut problems, you're going to have problems starting to show up anywhere, everywhere in your health, because our gut is going to leak out our toxic stuff. It's also from a vibrational standpoint, when we have a clean gut and a healthy gut, we are vibrating at a higher level. We don't have toxins within us, and we're able to attract the life we want. So it's super important that you know that how to have a strong, healthy pelvic floor for both activities in and outside the bedroom. So yeah, it's a great challenge. I look forward to doing it this week with all the guys inside of our support groups. And who do we want to shout out? We always like to shout out one of our students each week. Who are we shouting out this week?
Yeah, today we're going to shout out Chandra. He came in recently. He's a business owner and really he's also inside your leadership program, working on becoming an even better leader. And he's just one of these guys who's come in and taken to the course. He's been on like every call. He's responding to all the challenges and just being really encouraging in the group. He's being kind of funny as well, and he's just a real great character. And yeah, just wanted to shout him out. He's been in for a little while now. We really appreciate having him in there. He's really brought a lot of good energy to the group.
Yeah, absolutely. Chandra's been great. Like you said, he's doing our sexual alchemy training as part of he actually came into our powerhouse leadership development program. So learning how to generate more sales in his business, learning how to become a better leader, a better influencer, and transmuting his sexual energy. Only been probably under a month that we've been working together. A month now, celebrating a month, and he's just had incredible. The power of association. This is the power of training. So if you're sitting there wondering results in this lifestyle, not only how can I just retain, but how can I use this energy to become a better leader, whether that's leading your family, leading your business, making more money, being a stronger in your relationship, really stepping into your masculinity in a whole new way. Then make sure that you reach out, you connect with me. We could set up a time to call and we could chat more about the different training options. But here's the thing, whether it's with us or with somebody else, if you're serious about this lifestyle, training is a must. Just like anything in life. If you're serious about becoming a top-notch athlete, you have to train like a top-notch athlete so you get those results. You want to be amazing in the bedroom, you want to please your partner, you want to have, just be a sexual supernova, right? Then you actually have to train for that. Like, you can't just watch porn and think that's going to happen, right? You have to train for the things you want in life. You have to, if you want a great relationship, a great bank account, you want a great spiritual life and connection, you have to put in the work. Nothing in this world is free, and you're entitled to nothing either. Entitlement mentality, subtle entitlement mentality too. Sometimes we can't recognize it, but when we just expect someone to buy our stuff, we just expect someone to make us successful. Basically, what we're saying is we feel entitled to a result rather than aligning with the laws of nature, aligning with God's laws, which are the law of exchange, the law of sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? What kind of work are you willing to put in? 5 years of hard work to have a life that most people will only ever dream of. I mean, it doesn't take forever. If you put in 3 to 5 years, tremendous effort, and you cut out the nonsense in your life, and you just get real serious in your life for 3, 5 years, the next 30, 40, 50 years, whatever you have left on the planet, will be so far of status quo that you're going to live a life that most people only dream about, wish about, or watch on TV. But it's available to you, and you have all the power, but only if you're willing to put in the work. So, and as Krishna Baladeo said, I'll put the work in and get the shout out next week. Yeah, work for the shout out. And
we'll hold you to that, man. We'll shout you out next week.
Go ahead.
We'll shout him out next week, man. If he's
and he says that's the hardest part. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
No, go ahead. Sorry, there was a delay on the sound.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay today sometimes, but no, he's always very enthusiastic. We really appreciate him anyway. So we kind of shouted him out now, but we'll save it for another time, a special one. But he's always in the group, so enthusiastic and encouraging, and he's always on these calls very often. So we really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Krishna says, that's the hardest part, putting in the work. It is. And we just had our leadership development call, and on it, we were talking about the fact that most of us value new. What's the new strategy? What's the new way of doing things? What's the new practice? And what we generally don't value is the old and repetitive. But I love the saying by Bruce Lee that says, "I'm not scared of a man who's practiced 1,000 kicks. I'm scared of the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times." Meaning, if you want to be successful, whether it's in or outside the bedroom or aspect of your life, you have to be willing to do what most people aren't willing. Most men and people aren't willing to do is train, invest in themselves, practice, and do the same thing day in, day out, day in, day out, until you become so undeniably good at it that people are literally willing to pay you for it. They're invited to their events. They want to, because we like to surround ourselves with excellence. We admire things that are operating at a level of excellence, and that takes training. So again, you get serious about results will come into your life, but you're not going to do it by continuously just living whimsically, jerking off all the time, falling into vices, falling into despair, negative thinking, all these kind of things. So let's talk a little bit about the different approaches to semen retention. And the first thing is you have to have a why. So before we go through the 5 approaches, the first thing I want you to understand is, unless you have a strong enough why and you understand your own why, you probably won't be successful in not just practicing semen retention, but overall accomplishing your goals. Your why is your motivation. For example, I've started working out, started taking the gym serious over the last 6 months. I've tried working out many times before. I've tried taking the gym seriously many times before. But you know what? I never had a strong enough why. I have a strong enough why now. And it actually has nothing to do with my physical body. It has nothing to do with working out in itself. The reason that I'm so dedicated to working out is because I know that when I work out, I feel better, feel stronger. I feel more in my masculine, and that helps me sell more training programs. That is the truth. The reason I'm so dedicated to work out is because I know it helps sell more gear, and it helps me as a coach, and because I'm leading by example. So what really holds my feet to the fire when it comes to working out is not, will I have six-pack abs or not? Will I be more attractive to women or not? Will I even have more energy or not? That's I have all those things because I'm working out. But what actually holds my feet to the fire, my personal why, is that this helps me make a greater impact in the world, and I'm embodying a self-image which I know other men will find, like, will say, yes, this guy, I want to emanate what he's got. I want to be what he's being. So I'm willing to pay and invest into that program. So you got to ask yourself, why are you doing semen retention? Why are you doing anything that you're doing? What's the motivation?
I mean, and only then will you do it properly as well, will you put in the work, because then it becomes a must for you. You know, if it's just like, I should do that, that could be, then it's like you won't be, you almost have to become desperate to do it. Like, it could be negative or positive way. Like yours, for example, the gym seems like it's in line with your mission. So therefore it's like, oh, I got to do the gym because it's in line. It's not just, oh, I should do that because someone told me to, because they should be more healthy. It's like, no, that's in line with my identity, my mission. So it's a must. Whereas I started to practice semen retention and join this program because it was a must. In a negative and positive way. For me, it was more about accepting my sexual desires and energy. I started to build up a lot of guilt around it and conflict and confusion around it, due to I was doing spiritual things, and I had this weird religious confusion about, you know, spiritual life and sex. How do they go together? And feeling so confused. And after a while, I just couldn't do it anymore, and it was a must. And then when I came across you, was like, I have to do this. I even borrowed the money to do it because it's like my why was like, I can't live like this anymore with this guilt and this shame, and I need to understand what this energy is and how to use it. And I also recognized it was in the way of my growth, like spiritual growth, and also my material, like, you know, accomplishments. It was like, you know, I feel unconfident because of this. Oh, I feel dirty, you know. Like, so it was like, I have to, you know, I had a very clear why, you know, and you have to know why you want to do it, and then you'll find out all the different reasons, and sort of things it can help with. And there's guys in the army, there's so many different guys here for different whys and different goals, which is really cool. It can help with all areas of life.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note that there is many different whys. There's different reasons that men want to practice. And we're going to go through, you know, the 5 different approaches you can take. But without a why and without understanding, like in pillar 1 of our leadership development training, the first thing that you end up creating is your vision and mission for your life, or at least for the next 5 to 10 years of your life. If you don't know that 5 years looks like from you, if you don't have a vision for that, then you're part of the pack. You're part of the majority of men who are floating through life. The only way that you separate yourself from the majority, and let's be honest, the majority are broke, overweight, lonely, depressed, addicted. Like, the majority is not where you want to be. So when you look out at life and you think, who am I like? What am I going? Whatever you hang out with the most, whatever you're looking at the most, whatever you're allowing into your mind the most, that's what you're going to become. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of losers and deadbeats and people without goals and fat people and, you know, all this type of stuff, that's what you're going to become. Now, this is nothing to say, oh my God, he said fat people, you know, sorry for all my, you know, politically incorrect. We're not trying to be politically correct. We're trying to be the real, so that you can hear sometimes the tough things that you need to hear so you can get the results. Right? It's not cool to be overweight and be like, well, I'm not, it's just, I have no body shame. That's good. I'm not telling you should be shamed, but I'm also not going to sit here and be like, it's cool that you're overweight. It's not. You should be getting healthy and in shape. Porn helps me express my sexual energy. No, it doesn't. It depletes you. It makes you stupid. It actually reduces gray matter in your brain. And you should be self-controlled. So you don't want to fall into this kind of culture that we have going on where you can't say anything if it hurts someone's feelings. Sometimes your feelings need to get hurt so you can step up and do something different. And so we're about real transformation. So I just want to be clear that we work with guys who are very serious, and you should be serious. Why wouldn't you be giving yourself the best opportunity to have an amazing life, to accomplish the things you were meant to accomplish, to have impact, to create income, to be able to share that with your family, with your friends? Why wouldn't you give yourself the best opportunity for a great life? But that's about doing the tough work. And at first, you separate yourself from the majority by deciding to have a mission and a vision. And no one's going to give it to you, no one's going to grant it to you. You create it for yourself. That's the beauty and pleasure of being human.
And
So
you really got to look at
a strong why in your
sorry, a bit of a delay still, but yeah, just to look at your life and really examine it and say, where is there a problem? Like, is this a problem for me? Because sometimes people, they know in the back of their mind, like, yeah, I shouldn't be drinking so much. Yeah, I shouldn't be watching porn. So, like, so it's time to really just look at your life and be honest and say, maybe this is where I need to improve. And that's a good thing, and then, yeah, listen to what we're saying here. And if any of this stuff really relates to you, if you're being very honest, this is also just for serious men, but honest men. You have to be really honest. Like, don't just keep your little pleasure because, oh no, I haven't got a problem. I keep my little masturbation porn pleasure. Like, I don't want to give that up. It's like, bro, you could be doing so much more in your life if you just admit, that is a problem for you.
Yeah, totally. Like, it's like, when they go to Alcoholics Anonymous, the first step is admitting you have a problem.
You're
Like,
powerless.
nothing changes until you admit it and say, yeah, you know what? This is a challenge. Even if it's not a huge thing, it's like, this is a challenge. I don't like this, and I want to do better. Right? Or let's say you procrastinate. Well, admit it. Be like, yeah, I made procrastination a habit. Now it's time to shift that. Now it's time to actually get into gear and learn how to create the impact and the income and the self-discipline and control that I know is going to allow me to have the life that I'm meant to have. So admitting it, getting into your why is so important. Basically, guys who skip this step about really understanding, or they're not connected to their why, their chances of failing is like 90 to 95%. They'll do it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a couple months. But for serious guys, they're not thinking a couple months. They're thinking permanent lifestyle transformations, totally transforming who they are, showing up and playing life at a whole different game. And that's not a 2-month, 3-month adjustment. We're talking about real step ups, caterpillar into butterfly. When you're a butterfly, you never go back to being a caterpillar because you know what you can do. So this is what we're talking about here. I talk about the different approaches to semen retention while practicing retention. Now, the quick answer is yes, of course you can. Now, the way that you approach it is going to either allow this to happen or not, and depends what you want. And again, that's to have a vision. What do you want from your life? What is your goal? What's your reason for practicing semen retention? So the first way, which is the way that most of the world approaches semen retention, is they don't approach semen retention. There is no approach. They hear about it and they make fun of it. They don't think it's real. They think it's just a placebo. They have no science or understanding, and they are too superficial or too close-minded to actually open themselves up to listening and to understanding why this practice is the most transformational practice on the planet. So the most of the world is going to take the first approach, which is no approach, and they are going to buy into the mainstream narrative that masturbation and pornography is a good thing, that somehow these things are beneficial. They're going to use excuses like, oh, it helps me relax. It clears my brain fog. I'm a better person when I jerk off. You don't want me having all this tension in me. They're going to give into all of these type of stories. And that's because they don't understand. They're essentially in ignorance and understand how powerful this energy is and the different potentials of this energy. So approach number one is no approach. They essentially have zero approach to it, and they're pretty much men. And as they continue to get older, they're actually going to have more and more problems, more and more issues happen for them. Number two is Nofap. Now, Nofap is growing in popularity. Many men are starting to speak about it, especially under the masculine space and the manosphere space and the how do I be the best man I can be. And I think Nofap is a positive thing. I think it's a great thing. However, I do notice, I've been in this space for now several years. We've trained close to 2,000, just over 2,000 men in different capacities in 2 years. And here's what I've noticed so far. Men who simply practice Nofap generally fail and relapse. They generally go back into either masturbation or porn. So the Nofap approach is a strictly willpowered approach. Yeah. I ain't gonna do it. Also, the general motivation behind Nofap that I've seen is when I don't fap, when I don't masturbate, when I don't watch porn, I notice I can attract more chicks into my life. I notice that I'm more powerful, I've got more energy, and that gives me an aura of self-control and discipline that chicks like. And there is science to back up that, our pheromones that get released, our scent when we're retaining is different, and our overall vibration and energy is different. So it does, men who want to be more attractive to women need to absolutely have some sort of no porn, no masturbation regulation in their life, because women can subtly sense when you're not self-controlled. They might not be able to consciously speak it out, but a woman being in her feminine is going to be attracted to her exact opposite, a masculine. Masculine has self-discipline, self-control. It's focused. It moves forward. So Nofap on its own is very tough, but it's definitely an approach to work. But from what I've seen, most men fail on it or relapse or end up back into old habits. And that's because they haven't retrained themselves. Gonna take a sip of water now.
I noticed so far I've done both of those. I started with number one through most of my life so far. And then number two, I tried for a little while and it was very frustrating. I could go like 3 weeks before I was like, like you're just holding it in,
Oh yeah, totally. I've done also both approaches. Most of my life, the no approach, no education around it, nothing. Learned about porn, was like, this is awesome, and we're gonna go just have at it. So then I started taking the second approach as well, no fap, and it didn't work for me. I was one of those guys that tried to do it by willpower. Yeah. And actually what ended up happening is I actually went deeper into porn, went deeper into webcam girls and all that stuff, because I would have so much sexual energy in me. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, actually the opposite effect happened. I was like 10 much sexual energy that it drove towards more and more type of pornography and webcam stuff and all that kind of stuff. And that was because I didn't have enough knowledge or understanding. And then the third approach. Now, this approach I also tried for a period of time, and is think of when they hear semen retention or think that they have to do celibacy. So then there's the approach of, I'm just not going to have sex at all. And this is generally taken by very spiritually motivated people. So we have monks or priests or men living a certain time of their life known as brahmachari, where they give up sex. They even try to transcend sexual thoughts, so that the idea is they become sexless, with this idea of, or philosophy of transcending the physical nature of this world. Now, celibacy is I think it's a great approach for men who are interested in transcendence, and for men who have reached a time in their life where this is no longer a big motivating factor or drive. Now, according to the Vedic knowledge, sannyasi, or the renounced order in life, where we renounce worldly pleasures and we essentially are renouncing desire, sex, comes later on in life when we're in our 75 plus years, where we should be preparing to give up our body. We know death is around the corner, and what we're looking to do is make an easy transition into the next life, into a spiritual existence. The challenge with celibacy is that most people aren't following it, even those who claim to be celibate. Mm-hmm. They're not truly celibate. And I've trained monks, and you know, we know the stats around priests as well, right? Mm-hmm. There's many of them are still masturbating, many of them are watching porn, and many of them still are having a lot of sexual urges, and they're trying to do it with repression. So I would say that celibacy or monkhood is for very, very, very unique souls. Maybe someone who's asexual, who sex is not important to them. Sex is not a big driving factor. And therefore, they're able to on a celibate life without problem. Is a very, very rare. And in this particular age we live in, almost nearly impossible, because most of us have not grown up in an environment where celibacy was encouraged. We've grown up in the opposite environments where pornography and masturbation and loose sex was quite part of the culture. And we have so many sexual impressions and so many sexual desires and lusty mind that going to a celibate way of life is, one, not practical, two, not desired. You might want a relationship, you might want kids, you might want to still have sex and are not ready to give up that pleasure of life. And three, most of us aren't trained up properly for it. So it becomes quite detrimental and could even be quite kind of a havoc within a society or community. How many priests or monks have we heard of that you know, ended up creating way more harm than good because they were trying to put on a show of being above sex. And, you know, later on we find out, no, they were doing the most harmful aspects of sexual act.
Yeah.
And so again, celibacy is a route that very few will take.
Sorry, the delay we keep interject. I was just going to say that again, it's about being honest, you know, and these practices can actually help someone who honestly wants to be celibate or is of that nature. It can really help them to not repress. Actually, the first year or so doing this program, I was single and I was practicing, and I knew it wouldn't be long term for me, that my goal wasn't to be completely celibate, like for life or anything. But I was quite able to, in that time, as I was single, to just be on my own and not, you know, be frustrated basically without having sex or overly worried about it, because these practices make your energy transmute so nicely that yeah, you can do that with that in a healthy way without feeling repressed. So if that is the goal for someone, even short term, like a brahmacharya phase, or long term, these practices can really help you do that, because even I experienced that. So I've done that one too. I've done that one, the third one. But
yeah, I did it for about 4 or 5 months, and then went totally down like this whole like kind of jerking off every day type of thing. And that's when I came to the realization, for me at this time of life, you know, celibacy. I have a wife, you know, we're not ready to give up sex and renounce. And so I had to be really honest. And I think that's why it's so important you be true. Don't make your decisions based upon what somebody else has told you is best for your life. Too many of us look outside of ourselves to be like, what should I do? And this is where I really encourage you to be brutally honest with yourself and say, where are you at? Where are you at for real? and make your decision based upon where you're at, and not like trying to put on a show. Whether you're trying to put, some guys are trying to put on a show in many different ways. Some in spiritual, or this show of, I'm so advanced, I don't need these things in my life, but in secret they're jerking off or they're having all these thoughts and such. So it's just a show, it's not for real. The other show that many men are putting on is, I don't care about women. I just bang, I call it the Andrew Tate approach, right? I just fuck a lot of women, and that's it, and blah, blah. And for a lot of us guys, like conscious men, we're not about that either. Like I've done the sleeping around thing and such. And quite honestly, I'm not interested in anymore. Like I'm like, I don't want to just be sleeping around with every girl that comes my way. I've got values, I've got standards, and the thing is, the more you practice sexual alchemy, the more you treasure and hold sacred your sexual energy. So I'm like, if I'm going to share this energy with someone, then it's going to be somebody that I really want to. It ain't going to be just some one night stand. I've had sex with many girls in my, especially in my early 20s and such, that it was kind of like, all right, it's cool for tonight. I had no interest in her, right? I wasn't even that attracted to some of them, but it was just, whatever. She made herself available, But so I don't want that approach either in my life either, and I'm happy with my wife and the life that we have together. So you got to know, like, you don't have to put on a show either that banging women is, life ain't about banging women, in my opinion. Like life is so much more about that. It's nice, it's nice to have good sex and it's nice to be connected in that way. But what most men actually want is intimacy, friendship, connection, love. And as men, sometimes we put on a show like we don't want those things. I just want to bang bad bitches, right? Right. And that type of thing. But you feel empty in that as well. So be real honest about who you are, where you're at, and what's meaningful for you. And don't let myself or your community or Andrew Tate or anybody decide for you who you need to be. If you want to, bang bad bitches and drive fast cars and stuff, and that's what life is for you, then great. You take the Tate approach, right? For me, I like Andrew Tate a lot, but I'm not into all that, right? I'm just like, that's not my vision for my life. That's his life. So as a man, you got to get solid about who you are and how you show up and be you. So when you're deciding what path makes sense for you, it all comes down to, who are you? What vision and desire do you have for your life? And are you okay with that? Or are you looking for somebody to approve of you? Are you looking for some guru to say, yes, now you're worthy and approved? Or or society to say, yes, that's the way you should live. Stop looking outside of yourself and start looking within and being real with yourself. You're going to find so much freedom and power there. All right. So the fourth approach is what I'll call rules, regulations, and ejaculation regulations. So rules and regulations. This is where you start to put rules and regulations around it. You start to put parameters. So maybe you have parameters like, all right, no jerking off, no porn, and I'll ejaculate, but only during sex. Or I'm only going to allow myself to jerk off once a week. You start to set some parameters, some rules, some regulations around your sexual energy, which starts to give you a guiding point. This is a good approach because I really enjoy this approach, because this approach gives you some balance. It gives you some things that are in alignment with you. And this approach can exercise willpower, as well as giving you a little bit of, let's say, like, it's kind of like someone who's like, I eat really healthy, but I allow myself a cheat day where I'm just going to like have nachos and pizza, right? So for people who are very much like still addicted or attached to the material pleasure, This type of approach works really well. I've done this with a lot of our students where we've implemented some parameters, some rules and regulations around sexual energy and around your sexual activity. Anything to add to that? It's pretty.
Just that I've done that as well. Just because we set goals when we join the program, once a month or whatever it might be for the person. So, or we're gonna do, Nofap November, blah 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 blah. So yeah, regulation can definitely help. And I was just pondering my own regulation now, like what my new goals and trying to work that out. So that's also really helpful. That number 4.
Yeah. My rules and regulations is nope, I don't jerk off anymore. I don't masturbate anymore. I have generally non-ejaculatory sex, but if I'm going to ejaculate, first of all, it's conscious, meaning I'll be like I won't ejaculate more than once a month. That's my maximum. And it's conscious, meaning it'll be like, all right, this weekend I'm going to ejaculate, and myself and my wife generally have a extra special night together on those nights. It's very conscious. It's like a chosen thing. And it'll only ever be with my wife. It'll only ever be in a sexual scenario. So I'm not just going to go to the bathroom like I used to do and just rub one out. You know what I mean? Right? It's a very conscious choice. So that's the 4th way to do it. Rules and regulations. And then the 5th way, which is the way that we teach, and of course we incorporate all except approach number 1, which is no approach. We don't do that. We incorporate all of it into our practices depending on your goals. But the 5th way is sexual alchemy. And sexual alchemy is when you learn through a series of meditations, muscle control, breath work, when you learn to actually consciously move sexual energy through your body. So this is an energy work approach, and you can now engage in sex without needing to ejaculate. You know how to circle that energy. You also know how to have non-ejaculatory orgasms. So these are like energy orgasms where you still feel the vibration through your body. You still feel that orgasmic energy. You're able to actually feel an orgasmic sensation throughout your body, but you do it without ejaculation. There's many benefits in the bedroom to this, being able to last as long as you want, being able to feel energized after sex, so sex doesn't become this depleting, now I need to roll over and sleep. It makes you a better lover, a better quality lover. And actually, women who have sex with men who practice non-ejaculatory sex, they will tell you the difference, like where they feel spiritually enlivened, they feel actually uplifted by the experience, they feel more sexually charged and empowered. So there's tons of benefits to sexual alchemy and this type of approach. But this requires training. It's learning how to consciously move your energy. And outside the bedroom, you become really self-mastered. You're able to put your rules and regulations in place and stick with it. And it helps you create such vibrancy and health and focus and discipline and energy. And it opens up your chakras and your third eye that you are able to tap into higher spiritual and energetic aspects of life. So this is what we teach. This is generally what we practice. And this was my approach, because like Jake, I tried them all. No approach. Then I went the whole Nofap way. Then I tried celibacy. There was 6 months myself and my wife were apart. And I'm like, I'm not even going to think of sex. I'm just not even going to, and I did that whole thing for a while. Then I tried to do rules and regulations. What worked for me and what has worked for me, and that's why we created a whole training system and program, and it's evolved into now a leadership training and sales training to helping conscious leaders, is sexual alchemy, which to me is the balanced approach. And it's the new narrative around sex that this world needs, where it's not like an extreme do whatever you want and don't and have at it. And it's not celibacy, but it's this middle path that allow men to be in family life, to be strong, to be disciplined, self-controlled, while still being able to have a physical expression of sex and have a sexual life which that they can enjoy and that they can use to also grow strong relationships and bonds, so we don't have so much divorce, so we don't have so much lonely people, so we don't have kids growing up in fatherless homes and so many of the problems that we see now. I think we really need a really balanced approach for this age, and that's what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, I just want to say that looking at all the numbers, that number one really seems to have no science, really, because they don't even understand this difference between an orgasm and an ejaculation for a man. Like, I didn't know that till 2 years ago, or whatever, 1.5 years ago, when I heard it from you. I was like, what? It's like a game changer, because all the others are just trying to, you think, oh, I've just got to ejaculate, so I'm trying to regulate it, or I'm trying to stop it, or whatever. But with sexual alchemy, you realize that you can transmute the energy and do so much with it. It's very powerful. It doesn't necessarily mean that being aroused or sex desire or sex means completely just physical sex, or like I have to ejaculate. It's like you can use it for so many things. And as you say, what people are really looking for is intimacy and connection. So it actually, it brings loving families together more, loving couples together more. And it's just a whole new game changer, and so powerful, because it's just not all orientated about sex means ejaculate. How do I stop it? I'm horny. It's like, nah, there's so much more to it than that, and I'm also on stage 5 learning this. I've been able to do it a little bit in different ways, but it's quite a skill to learn that takes time to master. But it's just even from an energetical point of view, even if you're just doing this sexual alchemy in a non-aroused state, just doing some of these energy technique, you just feel so much better. You get like a higher taste in the area of sex, and it just kind of, the old habits fall away, or things that were bothering you fall away, and it becomes much more conscious. You begin to just, and then as you get really expert, you can be really conscious like you and say, I'm going to ejaculate on this day at this time.
That's right. Yeah. The more you practice, the more actual sexual mastery you have. And what sexual mastery is so important is that not only does it help you, yes, be a better lover, also make fun. Like a lot of guys complain, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, well, it gets boring. Sex is only boring because you've dulled yourself out with either too much porn and masturbation.
It's just physical. You guys are just banging like two bodies together. It's boring.
Yeah.
Boring
That's
now.
why it's boring. It's because you actually haven't you haven't actually grown within your own sexual practice. You don't see it as a practice. You just see it as like, oh, just bang, 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 get it done with. You see it more as an energy release, a stress relief, as opposed to a tool to higher consciousness, a tool to intimacy. Sex is a bonding activity. When you exchange sexual energy with someone, you're creating a bond there. You're creating an intimacy there. And when it's done with that intention, it's vibrant, it's beautiful, and it's expansive, because sex is an expansive energy. So great sex expands. A good sex life should be expanding with time. Myself and my wife, we're very open about our journey. Our sex life today is better, and we've been together close to now 14 years. Whereas, most people know the honeymoon phase. When you first get together, it's like, yeah, just all the time, because you're in that phase. Then you go through, your long-term relationship. So there'll be challenging times. There'll be times when someone's sick. There'll be times when maybe it's hotter, or depending what's going on in your life, outside pressures. But overall, our sex life now is at the highest and best it's ever been, even before the honeymoon phase, because one, we have expanded in that energy. We're bringing wisdom to our sex life. We're bringing intention. We've got knowledge of which to expand it. If you don't have any of that, then the best you can do is the same thing over and over again, and it becomes so routine, so boring. And if you don't deal with your jealousies and your insecurities and your possessiveness of each other, then you're limiting your relationship in life. And then outside the bedroom, you take all that self-awareness, all that energy, all that mastery, and now you bring it to your business, and now you're amazing on your sales calls. You're setting up appointments. You've got focus. You've got expansive energy in which you can actually work with. You're bringing it into your workouts. All of that translates outside the bedroom, and that's why it has such an impactful presence. It's a root practice. And what I mean by a root practice is that you're literally changing your very relationship with sex. And when you change your relationship with sex and your belief systems around sex, you're changing your relationship with all your motivation in life, because sex is your basic motivator as in a physical way. From a biological and mental perspective, sex is what drives you. It's what makes you want to have a big business and a fancy car. That's why you don't want to just be depleting that energy and just wasting it with pornography and masturbation and just low value women, or women that you don't even care. Like, you're just like, oh, I'll just sleep with her tonight because she's drunk and at the bar or whatever, right? It's just a waste. You're literally wasting your creative ability and power. And that's what the ancient societies knew. That's what sexual alchemists have known for thousands of years. And I just feel grateful to have somehow or the other been plugged into that knowledge and that lineage, and being like, whoa, this is a game changer. So it's a very life changing and transforming practice. And it seems basic at first, like, because you're like, well, I'm just practicing semen retention, but there's so much subtlety towards this practice that it really has such a deep impact in your life.
I think it helps couples, as you said, expand but be more intimate, because you're saving so much energy. So that tension almost is there with each other to play with, rather than if you just like let it go, like ejaculate, then it's a bit like, okay, we've done our intimacy, now stay away from me, I'm doing my own thing. It's like it keeps building. I'm only just starting to learn this, but I've seen the difference. Like non-ejaculatory sex, you feel like so much energy, both people feel inspired. You're like, I'm gonna do this now today, let's do some things together. But if you ejaculate, it's like, okay, I want some chocolate now, I just want to lie down, and you know, don't talk to me right now. It's like you lose your connection like straight away.
Most men, as soon as sex is done, they roll over, they want to go to sleep, and there's like, the prolactin that's being released into your system after ejaculation is making you want to do that. That's a testosterone stifler. When you have non-ejaculatory sex and your woman wants to come and cuddle with you after, you're like open to that. You're like, because you're still vibrant, you still feel connected, and that connection lasts outside the bedroom. Right? Oxytocin is the chemical that's released. It's the bonding chemical. They call it the love chemical, right? It's when you hug someone for over 30 seconds, oxytocin is released, right? Oxytocin, when you're when you're masturbating or watching pornography, has nothing to bond to, because it's a bonding substance. So what happens is when you have non-ejaculatory sex, you also feel very bonded to your partner. And in that sense, you're also carrying all that vibrancy and energy because you haven't depleted it. And why do they call it turned on? You're turned on. It's literally like your body's turned on. All your hormones are secreting its fluids. Your health you are at the highest state of performance when you are aroused. So when you practice sexual alchemy, you learn to be in an aroused state and operate your day in that state. Now, most men be like, man, that's horrible, because they just feel frustrated. But in these practices, you'll actually feel arousal will just be your normal state. Tons of energy will just be your normal state. So you'll just feel like normal in that state. It's like when you go to the gym and eventually you can lift way more, and that's normal to you. It's the same way. Just having lots of energy will just become normal, that when you don't have it, you'll be like, oh, something's off. Why am I not operating at high peak? Oh, because I probably depleted myself in many ways. Awesome. So now it comes to the question. We've given you 5 different approaches, 5 different paths. Which path makes sense for you? Are you going to listen to this and just go to the no approach and I'll just do whatever I want? Are you going to go to the Nofap road, strictly willpower, celibacy? Maybe it was one of our guys here, Insight here. It looks like his channel's Insight. I've been celibate for 5 years. So maybe that's the way that he's going to continue to go. I've worked with a lot of guys who were celibate or monks, and now they're transitioning back into a relationship, and then they want to know, like, how do I still retain, right? Are you gonna set some rules or regulations, some parameters around it? Or are you gonna practice sexual alchemy and learn to master the whole thing? I mean, obviously I'm biased. That's what we teach. That's what I recommend. So I won't say I'm not biased in the process, but for me, it just made the most sense, at least for where I was at, where I'm like, well, I don't want to be a guy who's jerking off and watching porn and all that stuff. I want to have high levels of self-control and discipline. I want to be full of energy. I'm also not celibate and I'm not a monk. So I got to find a path. And sexual alchemy came into my life as I was searching, as often when seek and you shall find. Answers come when you actively seek.
Especially if, like us, you've tried all four. It's like you're definitely seeking, you know. I think number 5 encompasses all the others, not number 1, because number 1 isn't even trying, but like it encompasses all, for people who are trying, it encompasses them all anyway if you do number 5.
That's right. So your step now is, if you watch this and you're at this point where you're like, I'm serious, I want to master myself both in and outside the bedroom. I want to have those benefits. I want to have that energy, that presence in my life. Then your next step is there's a link to book a call with me. You can book a call with me directly. It's a free call. There's a few questions you'll fill out, so that way I get to some insight on what you're looking for and where you're at. And we'll jump on a free call. I'll be able to help you develop a plan, and we could talk about higher level trainings and options that make sense for you. And the other option you can take, so that's for guys who know, yes, I want to talk to you. I want to book a call. I want to learn more about your trainings and how I dive into this fully. The other option is to go and take the free sex transmutation guide. And that's a video program which you can go through and definitely learn more. You can get some introductory techniques on how to transmute that energy. And then there's the opportunity to book a call with me. Because at the end of the day, the reality is me and you need to connect and speak. If you resonate with the way that we train and the approach that we're bringing, then we need to speak. I want to make sure that you're a right fit for the program. You want to make sure you're a right fit for the program. And then we've got several different options depending on budget, lifestyle, and what you're looking to accomplish. We have a full comprehensive curriculum to take you through that can help you develop anywhere from your leadership skills, your business skills, and your sex transmutation. Or if you just want to focus on sexual alchemy and that aspect, then we've got that for you. So there's many different ways that we can work together, but the ultimate next step is to book a call. That way we can figure out if it makes sense and then take that next step forward. So here's a perfect example, definitely transitioning to relationship wife approach. Yeah, and I've helped many guys do that. Many monks have worked with me. They're now in a relationship, or they're going to be. They know that they want to be, and they want to be able to still keep the energy and the focus of a monk, but they want to be in family life and be able to show up as a powerful man, both in and outside the bedroom. So I would recommend you go and book a call with me right away. And that way we can have that discussion. All right, guys. So you've got a bunch of things to think about. You've got some action steps to take. I encourage you to take that action step, book that call, get into the free transmutation guide, and send me questions and messages. It's why we're here. Connect with Jake. It's why we exist. So don't go at it on your own. That's the worst approach, because ultimately you're going to just get in your head. And, here's the deal. You want to master anything, get around others that have mastered it, and your learning curve is going to be reduced. What might take you 2-3 years to learn, I can teach you in 6 weeks through our sexual alchemy training. So
yeah,
it's up to you.
Don't masturbate, master this.
I thought that was all right. That was all right.
Yeah, but it has the word master. There must be some way we can use it.
Yeah.
Master.
Don't masturbate.
Don't
master. I don't know, man. We'll have to put some effort into that one.
Yeah, sorry.
You're the lyricist. I'm gonna put that back on you. All right, guys. So remember, we go live to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single week. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Make sure you give it a like, you subscribe, you hit the bell, you get notified, leave comments, because that helps us get this message out to more men, which is badly needed right now. And we need every single one of you being the change, mastering your own energy, and then letting that inspire others to do the same. Love you guys so much. Have an awesome week. I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control. Their info is plain. If you don't know, feel that energy flow right into your brain. Your whole game will change. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Soldiers retain. Real strong men are self-control. Their info